The 2018 Pro Championships are presented by USA Ultimate, advancing the sport of ultimate in the United States by enhancing and promoting character, community, and competition. Visit us at usaultimate.org. And by the Girls Ultimate Movement, empowering girls and instilling leadership skills through sport. Learn more about GUM at gum.usaultimate.org. Let's meet the starters, beginning with Boston Brute Squad. Hoffman, Malinowski, Schwam, some of the cutters, Tajima, Sinecrope, and Emerson, the handling core for Brute Squad. The number one seed coached by Ariel Jackson. For DC Scandal, Sue, Ito, Zoo, Allen, the cutters, Oldershaw, Kowalski, and Carey will handle the handling duties. Alex Gasquier, the longtime successful coach for DC Scandal, getting set to lead his squad into the championship. It is very muggy despite the early morning hours, 81 degrees. Good news is it's going to stay dry. The other good news, not much of a wind factor, under 5 miles per hour, and we are underway. Championship number 1, Labor Day action here in New York City as we get our first look at Boston and what they can do. Leon Hoffman. Quick start imperative today for Scandal.
Yeah, their defense needs to show that it can fluster this top offense and apply pressure in areas that Brute Squad maybe makes Brute Squad's handlers uncomfortable.
Sinecrope comes near side, looking toward the end zone was Hoffman. Forced backhand, swings it back into the center to Sinecrope. Sinecrope with that low flick toward the end zone, and it's Boston who strikes Jesse Grignon-Toma, Montreal native, with the first goal.
Well, Amber Sinecrope just putting on a handling clinic on that point, doing a great job distributing, attacking both sides of the field with her fakes so that she moves her mark and opens up those break side throwing lanes. She gets that flick fake, forces Oldershaw to go all the way out there, and by the time she reels back in to set the mark, that inside backhand lane is wide open to finish the goal to Grignon-Toma.
Grignon-Toma, first year with Brute after playing with Iris, maybe one of their biggest pickups of the season.
Yeah, she's been commuting all week, all season long, every weekend, driving down from Montreal, and I think she adds a great downfield cutting confidence and prowess that, you know, I think Brute Squad has in other areas on their team, but she's just slotted in so nicely to their offensive unit. It's great to have a top starter just joining your team out of the last offseason activity.
We'll get our first look at DC Scandal, what their offensive line can do. Controlling it is Kathleen Radcliffe. One of the handlers swings it over to Jesse O'Connor. This Brute Squad defense, that's what's made them so tough through the years, and that was a concern of Alex Gasquier. How would they handle the pressure? They got a glimpse of it from Toronto Sixers yesterday.
Yeah, we're already seeing it on display. Angela Zhu making life difficult for Jesse O'Connor, pushing her back, and Nicole Cannon guarding Kath Ratcliffe.
On the mark right now is Wong, offensively for Brute Squad. AC Gorman looking for a shot downfield. Kelly Ross unable to get there, and it's an early turnover caused by that tough D by Brute Squad.
You look how hard the Scandal offense had to work just to simply maintain possession, and as that pressure builds over the course of multiple resets where you're not gaining yardage, it's easy to look for that release valve and take a deep shot. And I do think Ross maybe had a step on Caitlin Lee, but the execution just wasn't there.
Break opportunity early for Brute Squad. This will be Angela Zhu with it. Zhu marked tightly once again by O'Connor. Didn't catch near the end zone that time. A tumbling grab by Orphaley. She shoots it down the sideline to Cammie Groom. Room redirecting traffic, comes back into the center. They swing it right sideline. He comes over to Cassandra Wong. Boston operating out of the vertical stack downfield. Patiently waiting as Zoo, and a one-handed grab. Nice bit there, coming up with it. Jima once again saving the possession. Making their way near the end zone. Little soft toss just shy of the pylon. And thought about the backhand, instead flicks it toward the front. Caught by Zoo, and a break early for Boston Brute Squad.
Well, this is how this Boston Brute Squad team builds its early leads and punishes its opponents. Not turning the disc over after they get their break opportunity and ruthlessly converting as they march that disc down the field. Multiple possession-saving grabs here by Juliana Werfele throughout the point. We had another one earlier there on her own goal line. No surprise to see her anchoring things for this Boston Brute Squad D-line offense.
Patient, methodically working their way downfield, knowing exactly where they're going, and the end result, a 2-0 lead and an early break. Zoo gets the goal. And this is exactly how Boston has started this weekend. They have destroyed the opposition, outscoring the opponents 75-31 for the first couple of days, starting with the pool play, and then yesterday in the semifinals, 15-7 win against Ozone. Perfect in pool competition. Boston was disappointed. They wanted the big heavyweights to show up on the East Coast. This did not happen, but they are moving closer to solidifying their spot as the #1 seed at next month's Nationals on the West Coast in San Diego. Along the near sideline, Amy Zoo, Scandal, who had the early turnover on their first possession. Let's see what adjustments they make with it. Lindsay Sue, electrifying player, comes front and center to Kayla Strick. Strick shoots it toward the end zone, and Scandal is on the board for the first time. It's Ross who hauls it in, her 7th goal of the weekend.
And you can tell Kelly Ross is fired up. She wants her offense to start playing with more confidence. Great job by the downfield cutters of Scandal, just churning to get the yards that they were struggling to get. That separation that wasn't there on the previous point. And just nice work attacking that front cone space. That's really simple red zone offense. Kelly Ross showing why she's one of the more difficult downfield covers on this Scandal offensive unit.
What was the biggest adjustment they made? They really looked out of sorts on their first possession.
I think their cutters were simply doing a better job of working harder to grind out some of those underneath gainers. You know, a part of that can be, you know, setting your cuts up appropriately so that you're driving your defender deep so you can get that underneath separation. You're also making space for your other teammates, so you're clearing hard out of that space that's right in the throwing lane. And that offense just looked much more comfortable doing those fundamentals on that point.
DC Scandal on their road to the championship. They were a perfect 4-0 in pool play. They took care of Ozone, defeated the Sixers in the semifinals 15-11, a team that likes to turn up the heat defensively. And Esquier was worried about how his handlers were getting into position yesterday. He knew that was going to be a primetime focus today against this experienced Brute squad. Nearly a D by Hannah Boone as she jumped the passing lane. It's corralled by Odie. Odie resets it back into the center to Claudia Tajima. Operating along that backhand side, Leon Hoffman has it. Hoffman taking a look toward the end zone. Instead, resets it back to Sinicrope, who already has a helper. Lobs it softly into JoJo Emerson's hands. Inside that red zone for Brute Squad, Emerson lobs, dives, and caught. Sinicrope giving up the body, hauls it in, and a 3-1 lead.
And that's just pure athleticism and power. There's no finesse involved in that one. Sinekrope just decides, hey, I'm gonna beat my mark to the spot, and dips her right shoulder to just get underneath Oldershaw at the front of the stack. And once she gets that shoulder underneath, all she needs to do is plant her left foot and attack the front cone. Great use of body positioning and footwork to get that separation in that valuable front corner of the end zone.
You talk about the technique, leverage with that shoulder, beating the defender Oldershaw to the punch there, and there was just no recovery from that.
Sinekrope's had to take a lot more offensive responsibility for this Brute Squad roster in the last couple of years. You know, you think back to the years when Leela Tennell was someone who was quarterbacking this offense and was so instrumental to their championship runs, and now Tajima, Sinekrope, and others have needed to step up and fulfill some more of that handling responsibility and distribution skill for this Brute Squad offense.
Sinekrope grew up around the birthplace of Ultimate, Amherst, Massachusetts, 2016 World's Gold member, 2017 World Beach Ultimate silver medalist in France. Excellent basketball player. Actually played a year of college hoops before making the transition to the disc. 3-1 Boston with the early lead. Championship number 1, and a unforced turnover as it goes through the hands of Jesse O'Connor. Just could not haul it in. Lost concentration for a split second. Second chance for this defensive line to create some offense. Worthily has it. That one was blocked, getting a hand on it. Right back with Jesse O'Connor.
That's how you atone for your mistakes. And Cammie Groom was over there on the break side, but I do think Worthily kind of telegraphed that one a bit as she set up the look.
Well, you love to see that after a mistake. O'Connor goes right back and gets control of it for her team again. So still a chance to hold for DC Scandal. 3-1 Boston with the early lead.
Uncontested foul.
Midfield onto the offensive side. Casey Gorman. Gorman gets it back to the handler. They rotate it right sideline. Making the catch, Kelly Ross. Ross right back to Tornquist. Her bid attempt comes up just shy for Brute Squad. Giving up the body that time was Courtney Verholland. Ratcliffe toward the front of the end zone, about 2 yards shy. This is Tremonte, and she'll float it in for the score. The one-handed grab, Gorman hauls it in. DC Scandal pulls within 1.
One thing you'll notice about this DC offense is how comfortable they are attacking smaller and smaller windows on the fourth side, even if they're up against the sideline. They deliberately set up their cuts to attack extremely close to the disc, and it's an offensive strategy and approach and cutting pattern that differs from a lot of the other leading women's teams in the division, but you can see how comfortable Nada Tremont, Kayla Strick, Kelly Ross, they all feel extremely comfortable working in those tight spaces. They trust that their receivers are going to beat their marks to the space down that fourth sideline.
It's timing, it's precision, trust, anticipating where they're going to be, throwing it to a spot, a location. 3-2 Boston with the lead. Casey Gorman coming off that big semifinal. She led the way with 5 goals in the semifinal win, leading the way this weekend. Her 12th goal. Lauren Allen and Kelly Ross, the other 2 top offensive players.
And we're going to see this pull roll out of bounds, and I think this was a strategic out of bounds pull, just hoping to get the right defensive set here, trying to get a look at the Scandal force to understand what they're forcing.
A good starting position for Brute Squad. Hoffman, Tajima. And a drop, boy. right in the lap, and it bounced out of the arms of Hannah Hankin, and a chance at a break here for Scandal. Imperative they take advantage of these situations. You don't get too many gifts from Brute Squad. Amy Zhu, Rutgers product. Work it up safely to Michelle Carey. Carey turns, marked tightly. Now she'll launch toward the end zone, and hauling it in for the score is Giglia. And just like that, Scandal gets the break right back.
Well, great confidence in structure from the Scandal D-line offense after that turnover. And again, this one, we've seen one or two of these so far this game, just unforced errors. Not sure if that's nerves with the championship setting. But great stack discipline from the downfield cutters of the Scandal D-line offense. And then this same third option just opens up. Really got away with one there as Leanne Hoffman was peeling off into the lane and had her head turned. Had she looked back to see the disc coming in, she might have been able to earn a poach block, but great spacing downfield. And Carey puts it on a platter for Giglia.
Maybe a little confidence now for DC Scandal. They get the break back. Two teams squared away at break even now, and we're tied at 3. Boston 1 of 2 in their break opportunities. Scandal, fresh off that really unforced turnover, they take full advantage of it.
And that's the key stat that we're going to want to keep our eyes on for the rest of this game. Who is more efficient at converting these break opportunities as this game goes on?
Here comes the pole, uncorked by Lindsay Sue. Third squad in this offense goes back to work with Synchro. And that fourth sideline with the backhand toss. Straddling the sideline, again, still working tightly. You mentioned the tight spaces. That's what Boston is doing, and it's jumping the passing lane. And coming away with the D is Scandal, and that's Ingrid Pedersen. And look at this read, Ian.
Great anticipation, jumping the lane. You can see her on Hoffman's back hip as we see a deep shot go up to Sue.
Sue makes the grab. Chance for Scandal to snatch their first lead. Can they come up with back-to-back breaks? Carey toward the end zone. It's in. Hauling it in, and Scandal has the lead. It's Lauren Allen, the first-year player for Washington, D.C., and it's a 4-3 Scandal advantage.
Well, I have to say that Boston Brute Squad turnover is one of the rarer turnovers you'll see. Leanne Hoffman does not get run through blocked. She is known, she and Cammie Groom are known as two of the fastest receivers in the division. And their speed is what makes them such great threats, whether they're starting downfield for the offensive unit or for the Boston Brute Squad's defensive unit. And I think Hoffman just kind of didn't realize how close Pedersen was, how well she was anticipating the route, and let up when she could have attacked that disc more aggressively. And again, the efficiency and discipline of this DC D-line offense early on, paying dividends, 2 for 2 on their break opportunities, giving them the lead.
So maybe a little flat-footed early out of the gate for Brute Squad here. If you're Ariel Jackson, how do you ride the ship and get this team back dialed in?
I don't think you want to change anything up, make some crazy shift in personnel or strategy. I think you just got to have trust in this offensive unit that has, helped guide your team to an undefeated record so far this season. This is an opportunity for them to respond to adversity, but as we look at the personnel here, a lot of traditionally D-line players coming out here to play offense for Boston Brute Squad. Juliana Werfele, Nicole Canning, Cammie Groom, Cassie Wong, and several others.
So a little bit of a mix up there, a change up, a change of pace by Brute Squad, trailing 4-3. Pick called downfield will reset the action. Caitlin Lee, second-year player from Boulder, Colorado. I think they're going to readjust it, move it back a little bit further. It just looks like right now, after the last couple of sequences, Scandal playing with some extra pep in their step.
Yeah, I think they're feeling confident and realizing that they can hang in this game. It doesn't matter that Brute Squad is undefeated so far this year and that they've won 2 of the last 3 national championships.
Well, they nearly had a poach D on that dangerous throw toward the side, but Brute contains and a pick called downfield out of that stack formation.
Call downfield.
We'll get the count to come in on. Our observers today with Linda Kudo, Andrew Burmeyer, Jeff Blair, and Alan Baggish. Warfully, front and center, and a score as Cammie Groom hauls it in. Boston with their defensive line that time getting a point as they work their way down the field pretty easily.
And I think Ariel Jackson's comfortable switching out those personnel, realizing, hey, maybe my offense just needs a breather. They got to have a quick chat on the sideline. And I trust my D-line to go out there and run the offense that they've been running after turnovers all year long. After all, this D-line is widely regarded as the true strength of the Boston Brute Squad team. And one of those pieces there, you see Juliana Werfele, the Dartmouth product. She is an absolute rock for this team. And it's just an embarrassment of riches in the D-line handling core for Brute Squad. They've got Werfele, they've got Angela Zhu. So many young, talented, experienced, confident leaders who can be contributing to this program for years to come.
Werfele and Zhu, both teammates at Dartmouth, both co-captains. Zhu, of course, the Callahan winner in 2017. So a lot of talent, a lot of depth with Brute Squad in the Northeast, and we're tied at 4. Werfele with the pull.
And you see that play well designed there by the Scandal offense, moving that disc over to the sideline, and then all of those cutters on the far sideline, except for one, clearing out to this near sideline, a flood play to open up underneath space for Kayla Strick.
Tremonte and Radcliffe playing a game of pitch and catch. Radcliffe comes into the center on that forehand side. This is Strick with it. Thought about the high release backhand. Instead, settles it back to Jesse O'Connor. O'Connor, breakdown in communication, nobody home. And a turnover and a break here for Boston, an opportunity for Brute Squad to regain the advantage.
And I think she saw Casey Gorman in that inside lane, but I think it just came off a little too hot, not the precise execution that she was hoping for.
Mentioned the Callahan winner, Zhu. She had it a moment ago. She'll start to work her way down out of the stack. Number 17 for Brute Squad. This is Zhu with it. Sends it up ahead to Cammie Groom, who caught the goal just a few moments ago. Groom, veteran player for Boston in her 5th year, the 28-year-old, sends it into heavy traffic, and it's knocked away, intercepted. Getting a hand on it was O'Connor. Looked like there was going to be a contest, and then they changed it quickly. Another pick that time by Scandal. Now a shot downfield. Defense turning into offense, and running underneath it is Giglia. Right before and into the end zone for the score. So how about that? They get the pick and then bombs away, and they end up with the goal from Casey Gorman with the assist to Strick.
Well, Jesse O'Connor has had a knack for atoning for her mistakes so far in this game, earning that snatch block. She knew Zhu was going to be turning around in that shallow inside lane, and Tremonte just launching to her former UVA teammate, Kayla Strick, and she's confident enough on the goal line to finish things to Casey Gorman. The Scandal offense just attacking as soon as they get the disc back. A fast break style that we don't always see from this offensive unit.
Strick known for her cutting ability in her college career, a downfield threat that set up the goal. TC Scandal with a 5-4 lead. How many people saw this coming in this first half today?
You know, I think the
Your look says it all.
I think the casual observer, the interested fan would kind of assume that Brute Squad was just going to dominate the competition throughout the weekend. And they've put up impressive results so far, but there's a lot of conversation, you know, the stratification of women's talent. Brute Squad, Riot, Molly Brown, Fury, are they really in a league of their own in the top 4? And within that, you know, is there really a top 3? And do all those other teams outside that division or outside that stratification, can they really make a difference and have some kind of competitive significance? And right here, we're seeing Scandal make a case to say that they can hang with those top 4 competitors.
Certainly making a strong case in this first half. Couple of breaks, they lead at 5-4. Leanne Hoffman inside that red zone for Boston. Amber Sinecrope, a goal and an assist today. Looking to reset, count getting up there. Hoffman comes to her aid. Zips it far side to Malinowski. 7th year, 29-year-old Malinowski now into the end zone for the score. So Boston counters. Tomois with her second goal, and we're tied at 5.
Boston ties the score at 5. Goal by number 27, Jesse.
A lot more confidence from the Boston Brute Squad unit there. Things slowed down just a little bit once they got on the edge of the red zone. And a great possession-saving grab by Grignon Thomas. That is exactly what this Brute Squad team envisioned when they started having conversations with her in the offseason about joining their squad. She can be that difference maker downfield for their offense. And then once they got themselves out of that high stall situation on the opposite sideline, great job just breaking the mark continuously down the rest of the field in the red zone for the Brute Squad offense.
Known Tomois coming off an outstanding U.S. Open, watching you guys in the coverage, had a number of exceptional Ds, some great catches. Just a phenomenal talent, all-around player for Boston Brute Squad. Quite the addition. Sinecrope with the 2 assists today, always front and center when you talk about the offensive production, and she has found a reliable target in the Canadian Grignon Tomois. Smiles all around for Boston as we're tied at 5. Scandal, though, still up a break.
Taking a look at this Brute Squad D-line, I think they're really using their efforts here. We saw Coach Ari Jackson use a timeout between these points here, and he's really trying to stack this D-line and apply the pressure here to kind of punch back metaphorically before you get into that crunch time leading into the half. You want to get things back on serve. You see Rachel Kramer, Cammie Groom, several other big defensive contributors. Juliana Werfele hoping to anchor things and earn a block here for Brute Squad.
See if they can find that same intensity they had on the very first possession. They were really pressuring the discs tightly with their marks. Ended up in the only Scandal turnover so far. On the pole receive, Jesse O'Connor. O'Connor gets it over to Radcliffe. And an ill-advised pass into some traffic that time, and Tulsa Douglas was able to get the D.
Well, it looked like the flood play was working to get things going to Kayla Strick, but then that inside shot just not able to connect. It looked like the Brute Squad defense was really locked in coming out of the flood and knew where Strick was going to be looking next.
Break opportunity for Boston, a pick called down screen, or downfield, I should say, as we go back to the turnover.
You see Strick moving her mark, but great work by Tulsa Douglas getting in there in the underneath space.
Speaking of Douglas, this is Tulsa with the disc. Won a Division III national championship. And a Boston turnover. Unable to capitalize.
Out of bounds, the call.
And again, we've got observers here who some of their rulings and calls are active. Some the players can go to them for resolution. And in out is one of those active calls that the observers are making today.
Holly Steinfeld was in the vicinity of that defensive play, and Groom finishes the deal for Boston, so it ends up being a hold. They avoid giving up a break point, and they come back and score with Cammie Groom.
Well, not the prettiest point from either squad. That reset just moving a little too quickly, a little too casually, just trying to throw that quick inside backhand. I think any coach would prefer kind of a step-out textbook flick that kind of hits the receiver in the chest and is further away from the defender's reach. But again, up here in the booth, Sean, our hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, mine's always 20/20, no matter if we're in the booth or on the sideline. Groom, the 2016 World's gold medalist, won a U23 World Championship back in 2013. Again, like we talked about earlier, one of those players who played a lot of basketball, in fact was a college basketball player, but after her transfer to St. Louis, she loved Ultimate, really fell in love with it and taken off from there.
And there was a great moment after the U.S. Open where Cammie had made a fantastic grab in the championship game against Fury. She ended up on ESPNW's Top 10 Plays, and in that Top 10 sequence, her sister, who plays in the National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, was also in that same Top 10 with a goal of her own in the same week.
I think the Groom family DVR'd that night.
I would say that had to be a highlight.
It's one to keep in the archives. 6-5 Boston with the lead. First half, championship #1. The men's to follow. Then we'll finish with the mixed division. Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, Seattle Mixtape for the mix. The men's coming up later today. San Francisco Revolver, and then the hometown favorite, New York Pony. Pony still with the Triple Crown hopes alive after winning the U.S. Open earlier this season. Oh, good attempt that time. Comes up just short as Angela Zhu nearly got her hand on the D. Pressure turning up a little bit, and as a result, a turnover.
And Gorman had separation underneath, but I think Tremont just saw the window and released a little more quickly than she would have wanted.
Boston back in control with Zhu. Soft pass up to Megan Wilson. Wilson turns and faces upfield. Backhand throw, and a hand stuck out. I didn't think she realized she did it. Her reaction was priceless. She felt something, then looked down, saw the disc at her feet, and said, "You betcha, that was planned." Look at this reaction.
Great poaching by Molly Roy. She's known as a really strong handler defender, and if I know Ultimate Teams well enough, I know that that GIF and that meme is going to circulate in that group me for years to come.
You might see that screenshot here in the next week or so.
Oh, goodness.
Timeout taken. It's like Scandal wants to use the timeout. 6-5, Boston with the lead as we go back to another uncharacteristic Brute Squad turnover.
And I think this is just great awareness from Molly Roy. We've seen some other Scandal defenders making some of those kind of peel off, clog the lane, defensive adjustments in isolation when they can. You know, more often than not, these Brute Squad downfield receivers do such a good job of spacing and keeping their space that there aren't many opportunities for defenders to peel off, but a well-timed instance there and great defensive presence by Molly Roy.
High turnover first half, squared away at 6 apiece. In that department, Scandal, a chance to tie it up when play resumes. Going back to that A play by Molly Roy, having some fun with her, but she has been such a good player for Scandal through the years. Really knows her role on this team. Been a part of some world squads in the past for Scandal, and just one of those players that you can rely on to do her job.
Yeah, she brings a lot of institutional knowledge, having captained Scandal in years past.
A backhand hook, and that one falls well shot. That's not what you want after a timeout. 7th turnover today by Scandal.
And we see well-coordinated poaching coming out. And Nada Tremont once again peeling off the front of the stack, earning that block. The Scandal O-line defense looking comfortable.
Wide open, in for the score. Kayla Strick got behind the secondary. Nobody within 10 yards of her. A big smile. And we're knotted up at 6.
Well, the key there, once again, is the recognition from this Scandal O-line defense. Nada Tremont just using her acceleration to get there and disrupt that inside shot to Caitlin Lee. You also saw some of the other downfield options being taken away by poaches in the lane from Molly Roy and others, talking to other defenders to switch and take away the most threatening options. And then Nada Tremont just capitalizing after she earns that block, shooting deep to the end zone. Kayla Strick really known for her linear vertical speed, gaining that separation in the deep space.
7th goal for Strick, who continues to put up big offensive numbers. Tremont gets the assist. And DC Scandal is believing. They're tied at 6 with a Brute squad that entered this weekend as the #1 seed.
Well, David Allison, the current assistant coach of the men's team Ring of Fire, and the former UVA Virginia Hydra head coach, who coached Strick and Tremonte and several others, has to be proud at the impact that these Hydra alums are having on this Scandal roster. The fundamentals that he's taught them are paying dividends for Guesquier's squad.
The big guns are back out on offense for Brute squad here. Sinicrope at midfield. Along the near sideline, they get it to Schwam. Schwam marked tightly. Still looking, goes four-side backhand toward the back of the end zone. What a throw! Holy cow! A BB delivered. As Grignon Tomois hauls it in, but that goes back to the throw.
Well, Schwam was stuck on that sideline, but late in the count, she had Tajima back for a reset. All she needed to do was step around and throw a nice, easy flick to reset the disc, but I'm not sure if she was comfortable with that flick option. You're going to see Tajima in the frame right there. She's open for a reset, no one around her, and I think the stall count was so high that maybe she just decided, hey, I need to punt this to the end zone, give someone a chance. And 2 Scandal defenders in the area, but that throw on the money for Grignon Thomas. And if I'm Guesquier or Dombrowski talking to my defense after that point, I forced a stall 8 bailout throw to the last 2 yards of the end zone. I'm happy with the pressure that my defense applied because I put that offense in a position where they were uncomfortable and they had to go to a second or third option, and it just barely worked out. So lots of great successes for both teams to draw on from that point.
Yeah, you could not have thrown that disc any better. High difficulty throw, and Schramm delivered a beauty, and Boston certainly needed it. 7-6 as we approach halftime. Back to work comes Scandal. With it near side is Radcliffe. Hard undercut, but O'Connor can't shake free. They swing it along the far side. Now they reset it back.
We've got a defensive junk look here from Boston Brute Squad's defense. So more traditional matchups in the handler set, but you see that next wave of defenders about 10 to 20 yards away. Sometimes, like Angela Zhu, not even looking at the thrower, looking for the next receiver that's going to be coming into that space and attacking that space. This is a well-coordinated defensive look.
Here's a bomb, a huck deep downfield, looking for Strick again. Goes up with the left hand. Bingo! Scandal ties it up.
Well, that's the difficulty with some of these defensive looks. Once one of those gut shots goes up the middle, or once you break through that middle tier of defense, there are often very few defenders left in that deep space, and sometimes they'll have to choose between multiple receivers. Strick was able to get separation after this disc kind of broke through the heart of the defense, and Ross found Gorman, and you see this continuation. Just textbook offense, catching the underneath cut, dumping to a thrower in power position, and as O'Connor steps into it, Strick has deep separation downfield.
Seven our score as we approach halftime, and a chance for Boston to go up one at the break. Remember, it will be Scandal who has the disc to start the second half. Labor Day morning in New York City. Great to have you with us. Hope you're enjoying a weekend of Ultimate. I know we certainly are. Here in the Big Apple, Columbia University and Rocco B. Canisso Soccer Stadium, the setting. Beautiful backdrop here of Upper Manhattan. Big point before halftime. Boston working their way into the red zone. Malinowski shoots it ahead. Sinecrope is there, and it's Brute Squad who goes into the intermission up 8-7.
Well, Brute Squad's offense looked really comfortable on that point, just attacking that fourth sideline, okay with their strike cuts, comfortable getting underneath gainers right up against the sideline. And Malinowski, one who always loves to shoot, has a nice, easy red zone finish to an attacking Sinecrope in that front corner space. And we see how well all of the new pieces like Grignon Thomas are working and integrating into this Brute Squad offense. Great flow and attacking that four-side space with an easy finish for Sinecrope.
It's Boston who gets the final goal of the half, but yet it's Scandal who's given them the toughest test so far this weekend. Boston getting pushed really for the first time, but they go into the break leading 8-7. We're going to get comments from Ariel Jackson in just a few moments as he will look to push Boston into the second leg of this Triple Crown Championship. He joins us, and Coach, getting a good test from Scandal. You knew you would. Some uncharacteristic turnovers. Break down that first half.
Scandal's a really good team. We knew that they were going to bring it, and they certainly have on defense. In general, I've been really happy with the way our offense has been playing in terms of decision making. We've had a couple execution errors and a couple things where we're not in the right positions. It's making it harder to get the throws of the ball off.
Coach, after your traditional offensive unit gets broken once or twice, what's your message to them to kind of restore confidence before they need to take the field again?
That's something they can handle themselves. They know that they have the tools that they need to go out there, and it's just a matter of getting them some rest. It's really hot out here, especially on the turf, the humidity, and so we're certainly very cognizant of legs, and so they know that they still have the full trust of me and the whole team behind them, and it's just a matter of getting fresh legs out there.
Talk about the transition and really the comfortable looking play of Jessie Grignon-Thomas, how she's fit in with your offensive style. She really has great chemistry, it looks like, with Amber Sinecrope right now.
Yeah, I mean, she has great chemistry with pretty much everybody on that line. It's a pretty tight O-line, and, being the first year that she's playing with us, it's been great to know that she's got great field sense in terms of timing and spacing, and will really attack a disc aggressively, so you can put it out there for her.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Ari Jackson, Boston Brute Squad, looking for the Pro Championships today. Leg number 2 of the Triple Crown Tour. The Brute Squad resting under the shade on a hot Labor Day here in New York City. They lead at 8-7 at the break over Washington, D.C. Scandal.
What would it look like if a competitive sport didn't mean a choice? Between beauty and brutality, style and steel. Between calling yourself out and clawing to stay in. What if there was a game that found balance? Between spirit and sport, agony and elation, like a disc dancing on air.
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate.
It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops. Like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
Entertaining first half here from Upper Manhattan. Boston Brute Squad, the number 1 seed, leading Washington, D.C. Scandal, a score of 8-7. Alex Guesquier joins us. And, Coach, first off, an entertaining first half. You were talking about how your handlers would take the pressure from Brute Squad. How would you assess the first half in that area?
Yeah, I think so far so good. We've reacted well to their pressure defense. We've executed our handler sets. We've been able to keep the disc moving, and that's really important.
Coach, your O-line defense has been really effective at getting the disc back after they've turned it over so far in the first half. Some of that's just been winning matchups. Some of it's been poaches in the lane at the right time. What do you think is the key to the O-line defense's success in the first half?
Yeah, I think we've been successful at what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a little chaos, a little unpredictability, right? That's the antidote for a clean offense. And if we're successful at it, then we can get some good individual defensive plays. We can also get some charity turnovers as long as we're keeping the offense guessing.
What's the mood right now with your team at halftime? So much was made coming in as far as does Scandal belong among the top programs in the country. Certainly you made a strong case in that first half.
Yeah, I think we're really excited about the open question. Can we continue to play with intensity and confidence against the top team and finish a whole game? I think we're really excited to find out.
Coach, best of luck in the second half.
Thanks very much.
Scandal putting on a good show. It wasn't maybe the best start for them, but they certainly found their traction. As we go back to some of the first half highlights, it was Boston with an early break and the Brute Squad able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, we saw that D-line come out swinging there in the first half, punishing an early Scandal turnover, giving Brute Squad an early 2-0 lead. And later in the half, we saw Scandal kind of settle into their comfort zone as we get another look at the Great red zone work from Amber Sinecrope and others. She was especially active on the score sheet for this Brute Squad offense. But as Scandal got more and more comfortable, you saw their offense doing a great job using their spacing and attacking deep spaces in isolation. As we saw this early deep shot to Colleen Giglia after a turnover, and Tremonte was available after a break. As we saw this block here, a run-through block by Pedersen on Leanne Hoffman that we don't see that frequently. And the Scandal D-line offense just so disciplined after its turnovers. We haven't really seen them take too many questionable shots, which can sometimes be the Achilles heel of many teams' D-line offenses.
Jesse O'Connor with the D that time, able to come up with the pick, and then the defense turning into automatic offense. Their reliable cutter, Kayla Strick, with a big first half. Scored a couple of goals. That time she gets the helper to Casey Gorman.
And again, Brute Squad's offense had to recover from some of their breaks a few times throughout the half, but they always responded with confidence, attacking both sides of the field, breaking the mark in the red zone, and even bailing themselves out of high stall situations when they needed to.
It was a beautiful throw by Schwam on that goal for Boston. And then before halftime, Brute Squad able to work their way down. Malinowski, she's thrown a few of those in her career. Able to hook up with Sinecrope, and that's how we stand at the break. For Boston, Moa with 3 goals, Groom has a couple, Sinecrope a couple of goals in the first half. Scandal will have it when we return. Second half action from New York City, Boston by 1 in the Women's Championship of the Pro Championships here in USA Ultimate.
What would it look like if a competitive sport didn't mean a choice? Between beauty and brutality, style and steel. Between calling yourself out and clawing to stay in. What if there was a game that found balance? Between spirit and sport, agony and elation, like a disc dancing on air.
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate.
It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops. Like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
Brute Squad up 8-7 at the break. You look at the offense for Boston. Grignon-Tomois with 3. Groom and Sinecrope each with a couple of goals. Great first half turned in by Juliana Werfele, both on the offensive and defensive end. A couple of helpers for DC Scandal. Gorman and Strick each with a couple. Tremonte, Carey, Strick with 2 helpers as well. Second half when we come back to New York. The spirit of the sport, you'll always find smiles along the sideline as we get ready for second half action. Boston 8, DC Scandal 7. Root Squad with the pole, Werfele, Groom, Canning, Zhu, Lee, Wong, some of the defenders out there on this defensive line. The Scandal goes to work trailing by 1. Any big adjustments either way as we start this second half, Ian?
I think the Brute Squad offensive unit would love to just be a little tighter. I think they are really the determinant of how successful Brute Squad will be, because their D-line has generated turnovers and generated breaks, but there have been just a few unforced execution errors that they could clean up and tighten up, and then their offense would be almost untouchable.
We start the second half the same way we started the game, and that's a turnover by DC Scandal with their first possession. But Boston gives it right back. A couple of early turnovers. We saw a high number in that department in the first half, and it hasn't cleaned up early on.
Definitely a catchable throw, but also low. You saw Tammy Groom trying to do the step through and run, sometimes not having your feet set entirely firmly on the release can hurt the trajectory and accuracy of your throw.
Casey Gorman downfield, wide open, running underneath it is Ross as she latches on for the score, and Scandal gets the goal to tie it up.
And that's another one of those instances of Scandal being so comfortable using those tight spaces in the same third of the sideline. Kelly Ross is basically up against the goal line when she starts this deep cut, and just that quick jab in the lane, using the depth of the end zone to her advantage, going down that sideline, such a narrow window and small margin to hit. But Gorman's been accurate today, and Ross has been able to get that separation.
Let's not forget that Washington, D.C. entered this weekend shorthanded, missing a couple of key handlers.
Yeah, they're missing Emma Price and Sarah Lord to illness, and both of them are handling assets that would fill roles on the Scandal offensive unit and the D-line offense, anchoring some of that break opportunity pressure and providing quarterbacking skills for that D-line offense. And we talked to Coach Guesquier before the game started, and you know, his philosophy and the team's philosophy and missing those handlers has just been, hey, next person up. There's a reason we've got a deep roster and we have the level of depth that we do. We want to be able to trust the other pieces on our team to make an impact.
Both those players out with mono, so hopefully they'll be able to get back and make the trip to the West Coast and San Diego next month for Nationals. Boston working their way close to that red zone. Along the far side, Leon Hoffman lobs it up high into the air, and mistiming the jump was Tajima, and a turnover by Brute Squad. Huge break opportunity early for DC Scandal in the second half. They work it back into their end zone. Dangerous cross-field pass hauled in. And a juggling drop. Oh my goodness. Lindsay Sue inexplicably just took her eye off it, and they give it right back to Boston on the doorstep, and then the layout and the diving grab for the goal. Grignon Tomois giving up the body, getting that foot down. And remember that sequence of events right there.
Well, what was Coach Ari Jackson saying to us at halftime? We asked him about the value that Grignon Thomas adds to this Brute Squad offense, and he talked about her ability to catch anything and attack everything downfield, and that is exactly what you're seeing on display there with that possession-saving, goal-securing grab after the O-line had turned the disc over and given the DC D-line offense a chance to break. Fantastic effort there from Grignon Thomas.
She has been sensational today. Wanted to play with this Boston team this season, commuting into Boston. Grew up around Montreal, former Canadian player, and has fit in so well with this squad. Tajima gets her first assist of the day, and was Claudia who mistimed the jump that gave Scandal a chance to get a break, but an uncharacteristic drop. Ariel Jackson sees his team capitalize, and they go back up one.
Yeah, and you hope that doesn't hurt Lindsay Sue's confidence, because I think she's a player that, you know, Coach Alex Gasquier described as someone who has perhaps the most potential and could be the most skilled player on this Scandal roster.
Complete skill set. Well, that looked like it hit the ground, and that's what Boston is going to say, and now the two teams will work it out. Molly Roy might invite the observer to come in. So we take another look. Let's see if Roy got to it. I don't think so, Ian. This might be a better vantage point. Nope, that hit the turf, so right call made. It goes to Boston. Break opportunity for Brute Squad. Tulsa Douglas trying to swing it back over to Zoo, and it looked like it sailed on her.
And I don't know, Tulsa Douglas is a very capable D-line handler as we see Cammie Groom using her speed and length.
Groom gets the D, trying to get the bookend back in the end zone, not away. It hovered and spun. Groom was waiting to take off, but a good read that time by Kayla Strick as she batted the disc away.
Well, Angela Zhu has made that opposite corner of the end zone, red zone shot several times before in her career, sometimes shooting to a larger target in Jacqueline Verzu, her Dartmouth teammate who also plays now for Seattle Riot. But Kayla Strick doing a great job using her body to box out Groom and prevent Groom from getting underneath the disc there.
Boston really making Washington work hard on these cuts. Scandal deep in their own end zone. Stall count getting up there. They're forced to go near the pylon. Man, look at this defense by Boston on this possession. They are flying all over the field. Gorman in the center. Resets it back over to Radcliffe. No lanes whatsoever, and that time a little bit too tight. And a timeout taken. So Scandal reeling a little bit. Boston certainly turned up the intensity on that defensive possession.
Yeah, you saw them with an opportunity, multiple opportunities to convert there in the red zone, but there's something about Tulsa Douglas in the red zone so far this game. She had that earlier turnover where she threw Juliana Werfele out of bounds. She had that swing there to Zoo that was just open, but couldn't quite connect.
It's the 50th anniversary celebration, and they're doing it in style. Beautiful San Diego, California. It's going to be held during the National Championships, October 18th through the 21st. This wonderful sport invented back in 1968. It's ironic, Ian, we celebrate the 50th anniversary on the West Coast, but the first game played actually out here on the East Coast in Maplewood.
That's right, and I know a lot of Hall of Famers, players who may have been out of the fold or their glory days may have been a little bit behind them, are planning to come back and be a part of the celebration. So a great opportunity for generations to link together within the sport, learn from one another, and see how much the game has evolved over the past few decades.
You talk about the different generations, and I think the biggest area that Ultimate has grown has been with the younger crowd, the younger audience, and the involvement of these stars that we're watching today, getting involved in their local communities and really helping out and promoting the sport, being terrific ambassadors. Man, the turnovers just keep on it coming. Boston gets it right back. Unbelievable. Who wants it early on in this second half? And Brute Squad gets in. Cammie Groom finally able to find the mark. She lets out a little steam as she celebrates there. It wasn't as it was drawn up, but Boston will take it. They go up 2.
Well, great defensive pressure here from Caitlin O'Connell, just beating her mark underneath, and then there's a reason that people say zoom, Cammie Groom. She just torches Kayla Strick to that front cone almost from a complete standstill, just goes from 0 to 60 in no time. So difficult for anyone to defend. And now this Boston defense is looking more and more comfortable. You'd like to see them be a little more efficient. They could have converted that break a little more quickly. They had a couple red zone turnovers that I'm sure they want back. But this is the time when you start to see them kind of put their foot on the gas defensively late in games when they've been applying pressure throughout the course of the game.
Since a little blood in the water, Cammie Groom grew up around sports, a very athletic family. Her father was a Hall of Fame quarterback at the NAIA level, so she grew up around the two-a-days, and then her sister Shay played professional soccer in Kansas City. A football mentality with that sharp cut into the end zone that time for Boston. They go up 2. Still early stages of the second half. Critical possession for Ratcliffe and Scandal as they go to work. Jesse O'Connor turns and faces. Resets it as they work it back out to Lindsay Sue. As Ian was talking about, Sue brings the complete package to Washington, D.C. They do a little bit of everything, but right now they have just got to figure out a way to match the intensity by Boston. High stall count on. They're forced to reset it as they march the other way. This is the brute squad that we've seen over the past 3 months. They'll take a shot deep downfield. All twisted up was O'Connor. She got turned into a pretzel trying to backpedal and spin her way toward the disc, and a turnover forced by Boston.
Well, I think Nada Tremont was open underneath on the far side. She had done a great job to earn separation in that far side lane, but I'm not sure Sue saw her, and at the point of release, you can compare that to a defensive coverage sack, so to speak.
50-50, and it's off the fingertips of Holbert. There was some contact as she collided with Amy Zhu, and a discussion to follow here. Sophia Holbert went up for it. Columbia product, just 23 years old. And apparently no call, so a turnover, and Scandal gets control. Tempo picking up a little bit. Here's a shot deep downfield. Running free was Zhu. She'll run underneath it. That time able to get behind Holbert. They look to attack quickly. Sue toward the end zone, and a goal. Quick attack that time. Lisa Kowalski, the third-year player, Massachusetts native, out of George Washington, hauls it in.
So more often than not, we see Juliana Werfele anchoring a Boston Brute Squad D-line that converts with great efficiency, and she puts that disc in a catchable position, but Sophia Holbert just unable to make the play with the disc going off her hands. Not sure how else to explain that one, and the Boston defense just struggling to recover. As we get another look, Holbert got her hands on it, and then the disc clearly bouncing off the turf and coming back up into her hands.
First goal today for Lisa Kowalski in her third year.
And this is where that handler depth challenge is starting to rear its head for the Scandal offense. You saw after the break they had to pull some traditional D-line handlers over to the offensive unit, Kowalski being one of them, and now she's going to have to stay out there for double duty and try and convert this break.
A rolling pull. This has been a strategy used throughout the day by Scandal. This one stays inbound to Tajima. Tajima, low throw, and a diving save made as Boston keeps possession. Sinacrope had to dig that one out of the turf. And now she'll huck it downfield off the backhand. Running is Grignon Tomois, hauls it in. They're inside the red zone. Malinowski gets it back to Hoffman, right back into the end zone, and Boston counters. Grignon Tomois, who's been active all morning here in New York, takes in another.
Well, the Boston offense took a second to get in flow here. But once that deep shot went off to Grignon-Thomas, it was just kind of a fast break off to the races. Breakneck pace. We saw Sinecrope laying out to save possession off Tajima's swing. And then sizing up her options, she sees Grignon-Thomas with separation in the deep space. And Thomas just gives and goes in the red zone. An easy finish there for Leanne Hoffman.
Mentioned that Tippo. 4 crisp passes, not letting the Scandal defense get set up. 9 goals this weekend for the talented Canadian who has fit in with Boston this season. Boston won the U.S. Open in Blaine, Minnesota, beat Fury 15-11. Brute Squad hungry to get back on top of the national stage as far as the national championship. They won it both in 2015, 2016, lost to Fury last year. They feel they have the parts in place, certainly the regular season. If it's any indication, they are prime, ready to get back on top. Have some teams in Seattle, San Francisco, and Denver who might disagree with that. Some contact going down around midfield was the defender for Boston. That was Cassandra Wong, 30-year-old who got tripped up. Looked like she got tied up with Kayla Strick, so those two will work it out.
And I think they're discussing resolution to a foul call, but the disc is going to come in on one in Nada Tremonte's hands.
Tremonte has it. And again, another collision at midfield. And again, it's Strick who's having a pretty painful trip down the field this time. That's twice she's been popped on her rear trying to cut down some contact by Boston. Low throw dug out comfortably that time as Casey Gorman sets. And looking toward that break side instead. Just throws it up in the air, hoping for Roy to run underneath it. Not much of a chance there for Molly Roy.
And I think Gorman thought Roy was really going to sell that cut to the end zone, as you saw the release to the back line when Roy was actually planting to come underneath. And I don't know, if Roy would have been there, just seeing the trajectory of that disc and where it landed, it would have been really difficult for her to make that grab and stay inbounds doing it.
There's a shot right away. They're trying to hit Cassandra Wong, and that one falls short, tipped away at the D by Washington. Scandal back at it. Boy, they're launching away now, and this time in the jump was Ross. Looked like she left just a bit premature that time. Back-to-back turnovers and a flurry of activity.
So difficult to read those hucks when they're coming in over your back shoulder, tailing away from you. And you've got to kind of reorient yourself and move yourself laterally while you're also gaining ground linearly downfield.
Angela Zhu and Boston up by 2 in a pretty good position. Tulsa Douglas near side. Able to get it over that far side into the center to Cammie Groom. Groom wheels it back over to Zhu. Zhu with some room to work, a pretty distant mark, low throw. Groom has no trouble with it though. She dives ahead. Cammie Groom patiently works it back to Zhu. Those two playing a game of give and go as they take their time, in control, leading by 2. Don't need to take any chances. Tulsa Douglas, Warfully, back to Groom, takes a shot toward the end zone. This one up in the air, and it's knocked away. Canning actually had her hand on it initially. She's going to say there was some contact.
So it looked like Kayla Strick very clearly had position, and Canning was able to get a hand on it. I don't see Strick initiating contact. She's just maintaining her position, boxing out.
And good to see the resolution there.
As a defender, you have the right to that space, correct?
You just cannot impede a receiver who's already jumped up in the air. You can't make a dangerous play and go in their path as we see a quick turnover here from the Boston D-line the DC D-line offense.
Wong gets the interception for Boston. Back cut. Oh, look at that slicing ability by Cammie Groom. Left the defender behind. Groom, who can cut on a dime. Fake left, whip back right. And an easy goal for Boston. There's the defensive play by Werfele, who might be the unsung hero today. She's been all over.
Yeah, she peeled off her assignment there to clog up that lane. Ratcliffe didn't see her, causing chaos in that throwing lane. And an easy finish for Groom at that front corner of the end zone.
Cammie Groom just looks the part, doesn't she? When you talk about a top-rated women's ultimate player, so athletic, fast, quick, strong, ferocious. I mean, she has it all for Boston.
And she's done it all, too, having represented the national team, having won national championships with Brute Squad. This is the kind of leader that you build a franchise around, so to speak.
Largest lead of the day coming in this second half. Boston inching a little bit closer to a possible triple crown, having already won the U.S. Open in Blaine earlier this year. 12-9 Brute Squad. What's so funny about it and ironic is, yes, this Brute Squad team has certainly improved on offense, but in this second half, during this recent run, it's been their defensive intensity which has really taken Scandal out of any type of rhythm.
Well, they know how to play to those strengths. That defensive depth comes from so much young talent that prides itself on those defensive fundamentals, whether they've learned them at the Dartmouth Princess Layout program or other programs throughout the Northeast and the New England area.
What are we coming in on? Yeah, because the cadets call comes back in on 6. Okay, stalling 6.
There were a lot of question marks coming in with Washington, D.C. Scandal. They lost 2 of their better players in Jenny Fay and Sandy Jorgensen, those 2 electing to go toward mixed ultimate. So they had 10 new players join. They had 11 departures. That's never easy to do, yet Alex Gesquier has guided this team all the way into the semifinals at the U.S. Open. Here they are in the championship to the pro championship. So there's a coach that can do it. He certainly has been able to pull it off as Ali Steinfeld comes away with the D. But there is a foul called way back on the throw. Some contact on that release, it looks like, so Scandal should retain possession.
Kelly Ross and Caitlin O'Connell having a discussion, trying to determine if the contact happened before, during, or after the release. Goodness, that was awfully close.
Looks like it is going to come back. O'Connell nearly took one on the chops on the follow-through. It was really close.
It goes back to the thrower.
It's a pretty powerful motion by Kelly Ross. I don't think I want to take one from her. So Scandal able to keep possession. They go back to work, still trailing 12-9. Boston in control in this second half. DC with it. Tremonte over to Lisa Kowalski, who has the goal in this second half for Washington. Straddling the near sideline, Amy Zhu. A low release, threaded the needle. That was pretty. Back up ahead, it's Kowalski with it. She'll take a shot. Lindsay Sue, wide open, back of the end zone. Throws it up high into the air, and that's a Scandal point desperately needed.
A great confidence builder there for the Scandal offensive unit.
Back within 2, Boston leads 12-10. Goal scored by number 1,
And a nice job by Scandal's handling core, just continuously breaking the mark down the field. We saw Kowalski getting the disc around to Zhu, and Zhu with that extremely narrow inside gut shot, and then an easy finish to that far corner. Kowalski putting it far out of reach in an area where only Sue can track it down. And those throws are often more difficult than they look because there's a lot of traffic in that front of the end zone space. Typically the vertical stack is aligned there. There are a lot of defenders that can, you know, step into the lane and maybe get a hand on it or make the throw look more difficult, but Kowalski puts that one in the back corner.
First goal today for Lindsay Sue, Wake Forest, first-year player with Washington, one of those 10 new additions during the off-season. Ultimate all-star, very young, complete skill set, played with the Phoenix the past couple of years, and they are happy to have her in the nation's capital. What an addition, and what a talent. 2-point day today for Sue. Back to work goes Boston, leading 12-10. Root squad handling it, JoJo Emerson. Emerson gets it to Tajima. Swings it back into the center of the field to Amber Sinecrope. Sinecrope floats it onto the side of DC Scandal, where it's taken cleanly by Grignon Tomois. Give and go action with JoJo Emerson. Boston comfortable with their offensive setup as they work it into the red zone, just inside that brick. Tajima. Softly to Sinecrope, now to the front of the end zone. Boy, that was textbook. Leanne Hoffman hop skips her way up into the air, and Boston made it look easy on that possession, up 13-10.
You see how deadly Sinecrope is in that red zone. That first inside break throw gets off, and then Sinecrope's marker, Edith Tang, doesn't even have a chance to set her mark and reposition herself defensively before Sinecrope releases the throw into the end zone. You're going to see the inside release, and Tang is racing to get over there, can't even get there, and the disc is already out of Sinecrope's hands, up that break side where no downfield defender is standing. That's a sign of Sinecrope's excellence and shows how difficult she is to defend in the handler space.
Never giving the opposition the chance to set up defensively. Crisp passing by Boston. Amber Sinecrope, 2 goals, 3 assists. And a hand in a lot of the offense today, as she has throughout the course of this season. Ian Hoffman, who still very young at the age of 27, has accomplished so much. Won a World Games gold medal in Poland last year. Introduced to Ultimate, like so many of these athletes, later on, it was their senior year at Lakewood High School. And this is a sport we were talking about earlier where the youth seem to be getting involved at a younger age. That wasn't necessarily the case for a lot of these stars. Some of them found it late in their years in high school. Maybe it was their freshman, sophomore years on various campuses across the country.
And what a powerhouse that Lakewood High School has proven to be, producing Jimmy and Christina Mickle as well. A strong part of the Altitude Youth Ultimate youth scene.
Nifty little grab by Gorman to keep possession. She was feeling the heat by Groom, who was riding her pretty tightly. Boston up by 3. There's Strick, who's had a big day today, getting rid of it. Over to the handler, Ratcliffe, near read that time as Groom was a split second late. Now they launch away, nobody home. Good coverage downfield by Cassandra Wong. They're trying to hit their home run hitter, Kelly Ross, and a turnover for DC Scandal.
It looks like Gorman's going to take an injury here for the Scandal offense. Lindsay Sue
a great, well-rounded defender, going to come on and take a huge matchup in Cammie Groom.
On comes number 1, Lindsay Sue.
Yeah, this would be worth just keeping the camera on those two. Two phenomenal athletes going to go toe-to-toe here with Sue in the white.
And Brute Squad also subs out Caitlin Lee. Tulsa Douglas coming onto the pitch.
Douglas, number 14. She will be the front part of that stack as they line it up. And immediately they're going to go deep downfield. Holbert is open and she'll make the grab. Able to shake free from Tremonte. Here comes Boston quickly. Groom fakes the forehand, goes with the backhand, and a goal for Brute Squad. Nicole Canning, new addition this year for Boston with her 5th goal of the weekend.
Well, Canning really made her mark at the U.S. Open by playing fantastic handler defense on some of the elite handlers on the Molly Brown squad in the semifinal, and then on the likes of Alex Snyder and others on San Francisco Fury in the championship game. She's long been a contributor to the second-tier women's team in the Boston scene, Siege, but now that she's made the jump over to the national champion contender, Boston Brute Squad, she has found a wonderful role, frustrating and aggravating handlers, and we see her getting involved after the turnover, attacking quickly on the fast break to convert that break.
Boston in control as Canning gets her first goal of the day. And Ian, let's start to look ahead a little bit towards San Diego and in all the talk this weekend. A lot of the Ultimate World disappointed that there's no Riot, there's no Fury, there's no Molly Brown to get a gauge and a measuring stick as we head into the prestige of nationals. But what do you anticipate from those big four? And then you factor in Scandal, who was able to keep up with this Boston squad in the first half.
Well, I think Boston has a pretty solid case to be the #1 team and the top seed of the tournament going into nationals. They haven't dropped a single game in USAU competition. Sure, they lost a crucial game at the World Ultimate Club Championships and didn't come out on top, but that doesn't count for regular season ranking. That's not part of the Triple Crown Tour. So I'd expect Boston Brute Squad to be on top. I think you've got an argument for Fury to be at #2. And then Molly Brown and Riot really tussling back and forth for that 3-4 spot. And I think Scandal making a great case for the 5 spot here. They have beaten all of those teams that are in that next tier. You know, your Ozones, your Sixers, those other teams that are nipping at the heels of the top contenders. I think it's pretty clear that Boston's going to be the 1, Scandal's going to be the 5. 2 through 4 are going to be really interesting to see.
Boston simply has passed every test this year. They took care of the Eurostars earlier in the summer, and that was a unit from Europe that had really had some success coming over here to the States.
And that team had kind of taken care of business against San Francisco, against Seattle. They played a closer game against San Francisco, but Fury was able to win that game. And, you know, the way that Boston won with such efficiency and decisiveness, even when they didn't actually have their full roster, made that victory that much more impressive.
Championship point here for Boston Brute Squad following the turnover. They lead at 14-10. Fresh off the U.S. Open Championship, they're going to take a shot into the end zone, and a one-handed grab. Did she hang on? She did. Boston Brute Squad earns the championship with an exclamation point from Caitlin O'Connell. Oh, what a bid as she hauls it in. SC Top 10, here you go.
Well, once again, this Brute Squad D-line offense just punishing Scandal turnovers. Tulsa Douglas finally connecting with the receiver in the end zone. Caitlin O'Connell, the full extension after she gets her hand on it. The championship clinching finish for Brute Squad.
A little bit of flair from O'Connell. Look at this closing speed, those long legs. And she was able to stretch it out and haul it in. Terrific athletic play. It's her first goal, but boy, did she save the best for last. O'Connell and Boston celebrates the Pro Championship. It wasn't easy. They had a tussle in the first half, but it was their defensive pressure to start that second half, forcing numerous scandal turnovers. They cleaned up the offensive end, and Brute Squad rolls to another title. They're your champions here at the USA Ultimate Pro Championships. 15-10. Congratulations to Boston Brute Squad. The 2018 Pro Championships are presented by USA Ultimate, advancing the sport of ultimate in the United States by enhancing and promoting character, community, and competition. Visit us at usaultimate.org. And by the Girls Ultimate Movement, empowering girls and instilling leadership skills through sport. Learn more about GUM at gum.usaultimate.org. Brute Squad flexes their muscle. In the second half, they outscore Scandal 7-3. They're 2 for 2 in the Triple Crown Tour after their U.S. Open Championship. They take care of business today, 15-10. Ari Jackson joins us. And first off, Coach, congratulations. 2 for 2, a great start. Now you have Nationals next month. But let's look back at this second half. Your defensive intensity following that opening pull, I thought was the difference today.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That's what made the difference in the game.
What was your message to the team for them to come out and execute like they did on that front?
Well, at halftime, we basically said, look, the other team feels way too comfortable out on the field, and we thrive when the other team feels uncomfortable. We thrive when the other team is panicking, and so we need to step that up. And I didn't think it was a matter of effort. I thought we were working hard in the first half defensively, but it was a little bit of lack of mental focus. Our positioning wasn't right where we needed to be in terms of downfield and on the handlers, and so just reminded people of those little things and said keep up the effort, and that made the difference.
Coach, taking a step back from the Triple Crown Tour, it seems like it's been a roller coaster of a summer for Brute Squad. You know, coming up maybe a little shorter than you expected at the World Ultimate Club Championships, dealing with some crazy circumstances there. And then you rebound to win 2 tournaments in a row in the USAU Triple Crown Tour. Where do you think this team still has room to grow?
I mean, there's a ton of stuff from just this game here alone. I'm glad it was filmed. I can go back in and we can review it. Our offensive efficiency, especially in the first half, wasn't really where we want it to be, when we got the turn. Even so, it's like we need to come out with the defensive intensity that we had in the second half from the very beginning. We can't give a free half to a very good team like Scandal, because they're gonna make us pay for it.
Well, Ari, we appreciate the time. Congratulations. Enjoy the championship. We know it's going to be a short celebration as you turn your attention towards San Diego and Nationals next month.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Boston Brute Squad, your 2018 Pro Champions. Let's go to the USA Ultimate Play of the game, Ian.
Well, Tulsa Douglas finishing this game with a deep strike to Caitlin O'Connell, who'd earned multiple blocks earlier in the game, and she's rewarded there with this game and championship clinching grab, a SportsCenter Top 10 nominee to cap off the regular season and championship for Brute Squad.
An exclamation point to a weekend of dominance by Boston Brute Squad. They outscore the opposition 90-41. They double up their opponents, and that's how the final brackets look. Brute Squad, your champion, a 15-10 win today over Washington, D.C. Scandal. So that's the story. We're just getting started on what is a busy Labor Day here in New York City. The men's final coming up. Ian Toner, I'm Sean Kinney saying so long from Columbia University in Upper Manhattan. Your final score, Boston Brute Squad 15, DC Scandal 10. All games airing on the ESPN networks or streaming live on the ESPN app or to watch this game on replay as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Happy Labor Day from New York City.